indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Due to some scheduling issues, the executive session is actually getting moved to 6 p.m. And so we're going to start with our regular informational agenda. Before we get started, are there any comments or statements from the public? No? And first, into the informational agenda on with our student representative, Danny Marks.
Looking very collegiate.
Dressed to kill today.
Very collegiate.
You and Mr. Viveros must have been talking about the ties.
We collaborated.
You want to step up to look at the board a
I figured
bit?
if I'm going to roll with the big guys now, why
There
not
you
dress
go.
like one, you know?
Good answer.
So, that was my logic behind it. No, dressing good is always nice. You guys can just take one pass around. That's the Villager. I figured you guys would like to read it. Keep up to date. Pass it around. Alright, so I'm going to start. I'm going to start off with sports. The boys golf team, they played in the Mayflower Athletic Conference Champion Tournament Thursday the 18th. They finished 3rd of 13, and on Monday they competed in the MIAA preliminary tournament, and they finished 9th of 10 there. Jake Fryer qualified 3rd. And he's now moving on to the state finals for Division III. So that's a big accomplishment for him. We're really proud. I guess he scored a 78. If any of you who know golf, I guess that's pretty good. So the soccer for the boys, they qualified for the state tournament, and their record is currently 6-7-2 with 4 more games to play. The girls volleyball team, they just missed the tournament, but their record is 6-11. And they have 4 more games to play as well. Field hockey, as we know, they won yesterday 5-0, and they need a win or a tie at Fairhaven on Thursday in order to make it to the tournament. So we're hoping for a win more than a tie, but a tie would do just what we want as well. The football is also doing very well, as well as the girls soccer. Overall, the numbers remain the same for the number of athletes, and the coaches are doing an excellent job. The athletes are happy, and none of them have quit or been thrown off the team, so that's an accomplishment too. We're getting ready for the winter sports. The boys and girls basketball schedules, they're done and ready to go. We have 15 freshman boys who have signed up for freshman basketball. We're currently looking for a freshman basketball team coach as well as a cheerleading coach. So that's pretty much sports. What you have in front of you is the Villager. As you see, it's a new layout. It's different from the previous years. They have a new advisor. His name is Mr. Thibodeau, if you don't know. They've added a calendar section on one of the sides of the pages, and I think it's a gray shaded area, just with some upcoming events and things going on in the community. Kind of keep the kids up to date, give them a visual of things that are going on. They also, I think in another gray box on another page, they added box scores of the games, so kids get to keep updated and see how our teams are doing. The last page on the back, they added a Wildcat of the Week section, and basically what was originally going to happen with that was they were going to get an athlete of the week and kind of just write a brief story on them, kind of honor them in there. But they also opened it up to be recognized for your academic performance as well as your community service, because they thought it would be better that way to include everybody rather than just dedicating it just for athletes. So that's pretty good. I like that. The Villager wants to involve people in the community, and they're striving to be more research-based and do more research and go online and get statistics, and so they're really excited for their year. The NHS, the National Honor Society, we have 34 members. We met today actually. We're up from last year's number, which was 27, so that's always a good thing. We voted to fund T-shirts to be more visible in the school, so that way we're going to get like National Honor Society, so kids realize like who we are and can kind of see us visually as a role model and stuff. We also put up the bulletin board with all our pictures out in the foyer right before you come in so that way people know who we are. Our focus is going to be on community service and also to be involved in for the NEASC visit, which is something big that's coming our way. So we're trying to prepare for that as well. The Advocates, which is a community service class / club now, is going to start. Yesterday was their first visit to the Council of Aging, and the kids, some of our students and the elderly, they mingle, they color, they play games. So they really had a good time. They enjoyed it. Miss Tripp is the advisor, and she said it went extremely well. They were really happy with the turnout. The Advocates are also planning a breast cancer walk on Tuesday the 30th at the high school. It's free to join, and they're also going to have like face painting, and as well as they're going to be selling breast cancer awareness bracelets that they ordered. And they also ordered some T-shirts. I'm not sure if they'll be selling them there, but most likely they will. They have a lot going on. They have a food drive scheduled for November 9th to the 20th. The proceeds are going to go to the Harbor House in New Bedford. One of the upcoming half days, they're going to help decorate and prepare food baskets to give out of the Harbor House in New Bedford. November 9th, they're going to have a 5-on-5 basketball tournament. On the 13th and the 15th of November, they're going to have courtyard cleanup. On Saturday, December 1st at 11 a.m., there's going to be a 5K run or walk. And Ms. Tripp wants to see if we can get maybe like a busload of people to go out to it. And it's to raise money for the Special Olympics. It's called the Jolly Jaunt, I think, is what she said. And they're also working with Project Action, which is the to recover credits. It's like a recovery credit program. They're working along with that to see if they can make it an after-school club to recover some credits. If you fail the class, you can remake credits that way. The yearbook club, their cover contest submissions are due tomorrow, so they're going to decide on a yearbook cover tomorrow at their meeting. The Remember Whens, or the I Remembers, are due November 5th, and they're also gathering advertisements, trying to sell some of those to lower the price of the yearbook, because the more we get, the cheaper the yearbooks will be for everybody. So the guidance department, they're having a financial aid night for seniors tomorrow. It's going to be held by the Rhode Island Planning Center, and the guest speaker is going to be Courtney McEntee, and she's the assistant director for College Planning Center of Rhode Island. So she's going to come. There's going to be they're going to welcome her, talk about scholarships. She's going to be the guest speaker. There's going to be some open-ended questions and answers, a brief parent questionnaire, and it has all the emails. I don't know. You can pass that around. Also, early applications. Kids are starting to get that all squared away, and nerve-wracking as well. It's a lot, but students are already starting to apply. We have a couple students who already are all set, which is pretty awesome for them. The counselors, our guidance counselors, they've been attending the Race to the Top as well as the Mass Grad conferences, so they're being involved, trying to, stay up to date, how they can better themselves and also help better us. The Project Action is beginning the credit recovery program, and they have just a couple of ways. They have the Advocates. They also have different things that you can volunteer for and help out. They have a family fun night coming up, and just a couple of other things that they have, and you can pass that around. It's to recover credits. I met with Miss Antonelli, see if there's anything she wanted to let you guys know. She said she's working with students on an online course, and it's called Odysseyware. Some students come after school, and they take it as either an elective or another credit recovery. She told me that one of the students, they're interested in culinary, so they're taking an online culinary course. So it's basically just like you just go after school, and she's helping kids take that online course. detentions for tardies. She said that they're trying to make detentions more academically focused than just like a jail cell to keep kids in, basically, just for like a couple hours. So actually have them work and do something. So she said that kids have been doing their senior projects during it and just like actually focusing on trying to do academics during detention. The 35 junior seniors went to a play at the Zeiterion. It was the Pride and Prejudice play. I heard they really enjoyed it, and the parents group paid for the bus, so thank you to the parents group if you're here. Student Council, homecoming's coming up November 5th. Spirit Week is going to be December 17th to the 21st, and we're trying to plan that all out, plan the pep rally, get all that squared away. We have 5 full days this year. We have all 5 days, and they're also 5 full days, which is a pretty rare thing. But we're pretty excited. Monday we have like a sports day. Tuesday is going to be like twin day. Wednesday is going to be mix and match. Thursday is going to be character day, and Friday, as always, is going to be class colors day, the day of the pep rally. The seniors that we're selling pashmina scarves. I don't know how to pronounce that. Pashmina. But everybody's really happy about it, I guess. So we're also doing the senior sweatshirts. As you know, you must be getting Mr. Millet's emails with my names on it. So we're doing that. We're also selling winter hats, and the haunted hallway is coming up next Tuesday, and we're looking for candy donations. So that's pretty much it.
And how much is the haunted hallway for, and when is it for anybody that might want to come?
Might want to come. I'm not really sure of the pricing.
Okay.
To be honest.
When is it? It's Monday?
It's Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Tuesday, the
What time?
30th. The timing, Mr. Hill, do you know? Okay. 5:37. Okay.
Here at the high school. Eric?
Few things.
Yes.
Good report tonight.
Oh, thank you. So.
Thanks for mentioning jail cells, because we get a lot of emails now. A lot that we have the kids in jail. How'd you end up with Harbor House in New Bedford as the recipient of the food drive?
The food drive, that was decided by the advocates themselves. I could do an investigation.
Oh no, I just
and get it to you, but
if there was a community tie to it.
Oh no, I'm not really sure. I know Miss Tripp had just been working, and I guess that's where they decided to donate the proceeds to. But I could definitely find out and bring it to next meeting for you.
Sure.
Definitely. Yes.
Just a question. That parent night for financial aid, would it be possible to also invite maybe even all the way down to 10th grade parents? I think in many cases parents, when they wait all the way till senior year, they kind of become sticker shock when they start to look at what it costs to send the child to college. I think, just the idea of inviting them, not that they would come, but, you start
making
putting the
it
word
open-ended.
out there, because I know, I'm now paying for college, but I remember the sticker shock
The
when I
process,
first sent the first one in. So
I understand.
just a thought.
Definitely.
Eric, were you done?
Yes, thank you.
Carolina?
Just a suggestion.
Yes.
You threw out 101 dates.
101 dates. Yes.
Of things that are happening
Yes,
in
I'm
very
sorry.
short order. And I'm on the website looking to see if there's any place that these dates are. Maybe the Honor Society should have their own little tab where they can have a calendar so that people can see all of the activity that's happening. The advocates as well, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, we're
Not
going
to
to try
create
it.
more work for the people who
Yeah, we're trying to get the
website.
dates out in the open more through the Villager, and trying to get them more publicized so that way people actually know about it and are informed about it. So that's something that I can definitely bring up to each committee itself. Any questions, concerns, comments?
Good job.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to thank you for coming again to join us. I know we
thank
see
you.
you every 2 weeks, and certainly you gave a great report on some of the many activities that are going on here at the high school.
Thank you.
You shied away from some of the academic areas because we also like to hear about the activities, athletics, and social programs that are going on.
Definitely.
But if you could tell us a little bit about recent achievement. I understand many of the seniors have been selected for a scholarship.
The Abigail Adams Scholarship. Mr. Lowe, you know the exact number, right? 34 have been accepted the Abigail Adams Scholarship. I being included, I was really stoked about that. Actually, I was really happy. But yeah, a lot of we have a very smart, motivated school. You know, we see a lot of academic achievements and a lot of competition. You know, trying to push up the class ranks, and so with all that, you really see the grades rise up. And we have a good group of students here, really smart and dedicated and motivated. So.
And I did notice your name on that list, so I knew you were part of that. And I think well over 20% of the graduating seniors are actually
there's a large group
reached that
large
level.
Group.
So
yeah,
congratulations.
we're very proud. I'll definitely try and get more academic achievements, because now that you say that, I think that would be a good way to bring up.
We
so
want to hear the well-rounded report.
Definitely.
You did a good job. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Danny.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Enjoy your meeting.
You leaving?
Yeah.
He's so color coordinated. His sneakers match his tie. Nice.
I thought it was St. Patrick's Day today.
Enrollment update, Dr. Colley.
Enrollment update, we don't have the final figures for October 1st. We're still trying to figure out some students who may or may not be living in the town. Every year at the beginning of the year we do that. It should not change much. We do see a small decrease at the Macomber Elementary School. If you take a peek, you went from a class that had 148 going from the Mac to the West. So you see some of the jump of the enrollment at the West, and then you just see a decrease over at the Mac. In fact, I was noticing there's big jumps between grade levels year to year. 148 in grade 1, 114 grade 2, and it evens out a little bit, but then you get to 6th grade, goes back up to 160, 7th grade goes down to 111. So in a school district this size, you may have some very wild variations year to year, which doesn't tell you a big story. But overall, we're down about 65 students in the district. Some of it down at the lower end, Macomber, we didn't have as many students participating in preschool. We also limited the number of enrollments a couple of years ago. So that may have an impact on it. We did have some students that did not go to grade 9 from the middle school. We've had more and more students being accepted to Bristol, Aggie, and Diamond. The other numbers tend to be more stable. I think Bristol, Aggie, and Diamond asked to allow a few more students in the last couple of years. So, and we also put in the known at this point, certified that we know we have to pay for out-of-district students down at the bottom for special ed on that first page. There are a couple that are in contention right now, mostly students who are in DCF custody, because once they determine where they're going to put them, if the parents last lived here, whether they go to DCF custody or not until they leave the schools, 22 in many cases, they consider them to belong to us. But in many cases, DCF has a large say as to where the students go. So if they're in special education and they put them in residential placements, we have very little to say about it. That's the way it's set up. So we have one that I know we've exhausted every avenue of complaint, if you will. This was a student that was living in Fall River, supposedly sometime in the spring. The parent moved here. Nobody notified us, so we didn't account for them. Thankfully, we lost a student, so it should wash out. But that student that we were talking about earlier in the beginning of the school year will be one of our students that gets accounted for here. We just found that out this week. We sent it up to the state. The state determined that even though we were not informed in time, the mother was living here. We had the assistance of the SRO to verify that the mother was here. We actually had to go there several times just to make sure she was really living there, because it's a good chunk of money to pay for this student. So if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to
Tony.
try to answer.
Dr. Collins, the preschool,
Yep,
we got rid of a class.
it was 2 years ago.
That was right, yeah.
Yeah.
So this
So
72,
maybe-
that's, how many days a week? That's still 5 days though, right?
You have some students going that 3 days a week, full day. You have then morning and afternoon programs going on. So there's 5 classes, but they're not all full time. I think, and I'm wondering if that's the 148 that you see now in first grade. That was from a class 2 years ago when we had more opportunities. Sometimes if your preschool is very strong, it tends to bring parents in the door. It helps them stay here. We had 3 teachers at that point in preschool. And, you know, once parents get used to a school, sometimes they just stay there regardless of their proclivities to send the kids to private school or not. So it's a question whether that had an impact on how many students would be in preschool, but we don't know necessarily who those parents are, because in preschool we don't track them per se, unless
That
they're
was the
special
beginning
ed.
of last year, that we cut that class, last year.
Last year was
Right,
the
that's what
first
I'm saying.
class.
So now
Yeah.
that would be the 121 that you have in kindergarten,
Mhm.
and we didn't put back 3 teachers in preschool, so we still have the same number of programming, and you only have 72. Now, usually we do jump from the preschool number a little bit higher for K, because some parents just wait till the children go into kindergarten, because 1, it's available, 2, it's full-time, and so they can have access to something that's more academically enriching.
Anything else? Michael?
Thank you for the report, Dr. Colley. I appreciate you highlighting the fact that although our senior class this year is lower than we typically see at 86, our total enrollment is 1,682 students. That's a system of perhaps small in the medium range, but we still have substantial responsibilities throughout all the buildings with the almost 1,700 students. And the fact that we don't see a continuation of that smaller class in your projections. So that's an important for our future planning.
And that's what I'm trying to say. When you look at grade level by grade level, the problem is in a few years, that 160 class and 148 class will move from one building to another. So you will see bumps in those years when they hit those schools. And again, some of it is just idiosyncratic to that particular year. I'm always wondering what happened on that year where you get the 160, whereas the previous year is only 111. Those changes you're not going to be able to account for by just looking back 5 years at the birth rate. Sometimes it's economics, sometimes it's just a fluke. But if they all left in the same grade level, we could do something in terms of not needing as many people, but you leave 2 here, 2 there, 5 there, and it's not enough to impact the actual program.
Do we know how many more Bristol Aggie and Diamond took this year than what they usually take?
I don't have it with me. All I know is they were opening the door, I think, to 10, but I don't know if they took 10 additional.
Which will put us at 25, correct?
I think it's 25. But sometimes even if we do send 25, sometimes the other towns do not send as many, and they'll even
They'll
open
kick in
it
a
up
few
to
more.
whoever else is on the list who still wants to go. That's why I'm saying I want to wait till October 1st figures, which will be at the next school committee meeting. You'll have those. And I'll ask for the Bristol Aggie to be put on that.
Okay.
And Diamond.
Right. On to the medical emergency response plan. Tracy Carr.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, this year we were required by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education to develop a district-wide medical emergency response plan. We did already have sort of a code blue medical team in each building with different staff members knowing their individual role in the event of a medical emergency. So we just kind of fine-tuned it a little bit. The nurses each went through their building and redeveloped the plan. And it's a plan that works within each of the buildings, is pretty similar. It required that each of the buildings have an AED, which all of the buildings do. The high school has 2, and I'm in the process of purchasing a second for the middle school so that it would be available in the gym area. So when there's after school events, or because the gym is kind of so separated from the office hall where the AED is currently located. So we just went through and developed each of those plans. It involves having all of the members on the emergency response team in the building are listed with their cell phone numbers. We would normally call, if 911 had to be called, that would go back to, whoever at the scene would be able to contact the person up at the office to make those calls. Although I know at MAC our phone system is sometimes in and out, especially on bad weather days. Sometimes we only have one line and it might be staticky. The other line sometimes doesn't work. So we might be depending on cell phone service to contact emergency personnel if needed. I'm not sure if the phone system's at some of the other buildings, but and we also use a walkie-talkie system within Macumber, at least for recess. They do the same at the elementary school, and then I think even within the building they do that at the middle and the high school as far as communicating. So, so it's pretty similar. Each of the different forms, the nurses actually kind of measured the distance out to the furthest place in the building, so we could determine sort of our response time. Each of the nurses has an emergency box, like a tackle box, that has emergency equipment in it, and also the school-based EpiPen and EpiPen Junior. We do have standing orders from Dr. Callan to institute those if needed, if there was a life-threatening, allergy reaction. So we would like to run a drill, kind of like the what was the other?
It's the lockdown.
Yeah,
and
like kind of a mock emergency response team drill in each of the buildings. That would be something new that we're looking at doing this year, and also ensuring that everybody on each of the building response teams is CPR and first aid certified. So all of the nurses in the district are now certified CPR instructors, and we're going to be holding a class on the November 6th professional day, teaching CPR to sort of those remaining people that aren't already certified. All of the staff at Macumber is certified. That was part of the NAUIC accreditation. So we accomplished that last year. So we're just going to take that handful of people from the different buildings remaining and get them all certified. So we're up to date.
I have a question. You have your ERT staff members and what everybody's duty is in the event of something happening. What happens if, God forbid, it's one of these people in the chain? Is there somebody else?
I mean, a lot like some of the plans have alternate people, listed on it, but there's enough people on the team so that if jobs have to shift slightly, and I think that running a mock drill will be a good way to kind of work through that and kind of see, like someone could take over the record keeping as well as the phone calling and
to see what important might be being missed by doing that.
Right, yeah. I mean, after we run a mock drill, we will meet and kind of decide, this worked well, this didn't work at this building, let's try to tweak the plan. And then the plan is I think, revisited every other year to make necessary changes. Anything else?
just one of the things that you mentioned that's kind of quick and over. I think this plan came out of several emergencies that have happened across the state. One of them resulted in a tragic death, and nobody had access to the information. They couldn't communicate with the people in the building. They couldn't get to the AED machine. My biggest concern with these plans is we ended up going with the 911 through the cell phone as we put it into the plans again, because as Tracy mentioned, our phone system is very antiquated. In some of the buildings, you can't call 911, and 911 can figure out who you are. It's, you know, one of those old systems that doesn't recognize us. I know that Mrs. Lewis had been trying to work with the companies to find out what it would cost to put in new systems. I know the Mac is dying. At the middle school, we had a double problem because the phone system works when it wants to, and when it rains, we just don't even get their calls anymore for, you know, can somebody come to look at the phone system? We know if it rains, it's just not going to work. And now the other problem we're running into the middle school is the intercom system, which was original to the building, is not working well. Several rooms apparently can't even call in or out. So if the emergency happens there, you're going to lose time.
Yeah, you don't.
Because you'd have to go to the classroom next door, or somebody would have to go to the classroom next door to buzz the office to then call out, hopefully be able to call out. The other problem at the middle school is, and here at the high school to some extent, is our cell phones, if you're within the building, may or may not work. If you don't get close to a window, there's enough brick and mortar and metal in the buildings that you just cannot do it. We wrote the plan the best we could. We did think of the issue of using cell phones, especially when you're outside, like for sport games or playground, because your walkie-talkie may not work. You're not going to run back in to use a phone or call on the intercom. Most people now carry cell phones, which at least while you're outside or when the building is locked and you're outside at the playground or at a game, you can at least call the police. It does take a little longer because it goes through the state police, and then they identify where we are, and then they call the local response team.
Well, I was just going to mention that. I mean, you mentioned cell phones, and as somebody who had to dial 911 a few weeks ago, I know I called from my cell phone, and that's what I got. I got state police, and it threw me. And so my question to you is, and maybe I'm assuming they can identify where I am, even though I'm calling from a cell phone, but I don't know that. Do we know if they can? And if they can't, do we have, nobody knows how they're going to respond in an emergency, meaning are you going to even be able to remember where you are? So do they have something on their tags that says the address of the school that they're working at, so that...
No, but that could be...
it's just something small. I mean, I know you don't know how you're going to... Are you going to remember where I'm at, and are they going to know if you use a cell phone?
On the back, you know, you
on the
have
back of
on the back of your staff
ID cards, we did
like
put
sort of
in
what the
some
different
summary.
codes are when it's a lockdown. Or
But is the address there?
Right,
So
yeah,
if somebody
that could
has
be
to call
something.
from a cell phone,
I know it's
just God forbid, and you forget, I know we're all guilty of panicking when you don't want to
Yeah,
panic,
that's true.
and you might forget where you're at. So that might be something too. If we think we might be accessing cell phones more frequently than a phone right now, make sure that they have on their tags where they are located.
So that's a good
All
And
right.
also,
suggestion.
when you do dial 911 with the state police, it's not Dartmouth you're getting the Troop D barracks in Middleborough.
Yeah.
So it's going to go there first. So if you mention Main Road in Westport, they may not, they know where they can find it, but they won't be able to.
It is a little unnerving when you do call and you get state police that answer, and you're like, "Whoa, what do you mean?" And
Yeah. So ideally, you know, if you can contact the office and have the phone, you know, make that 911 call and have it come up, you come right up on their screen.
right,
and
but
they
if
know.
not, then maybe at least have the address on the back of the tag, so that
That's a good-
they
we could
just so that if they forget in a panic
probably do like a
situation,
little sticker
God forbid
system
they ever
for-
need it, they have the address and they can just look at their card and read it right off.
They do get a caller ID of who's calling, but not location.
Right.
Location, yeah.
So.
Right.
Anything
Is
else?
that all cell phones or just certain
I don't
certain
know.
carriers will go to certain.
I have AT&T.
It's whatever
and
towers they're
Blended.
bouncing off of, so they're gonna have an idea where you're at, but not a pinpoint unless they can triangulate it. But if you're in Tiverton, you're gonna end up with Middleborough. It depends on what tower you're hitting off of.
Yeah,
Right.
so
Sometimes in Swansea, hit Rhode Island State Police. It's
yeah,
just
so
depends
something
on
to
what
think
tower.
about.
Mhm.
Have that there for
Yeah.
them if any staff needs to make a phone call and they forget, but they may not even know the address of the school.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
so
That's true. That's true.
anything
I'll
else?
put it into,
I think this
when we
is.
review.
I like seeing this. I think this is important.
Did you
Yeah.
work on this alone, or did you have a subcommittee working with you?
Dr.
We-
Crowley and I.
we
and then,
worked, and the
you know, each
nurses,
of the
then the
nurses, we
buildings.
met and kind of went over, what's the system in your building, and, making sure the nurses went around right at the beginning and kind of reminding people, you're on the team, this is your role.
Got the cell
and,
phone
and it's
numbers.
reviewed annually with the members.
Measured
Everyone,
the
give me
the
your
length.
cell phone.
Measured how quick they can run out to the fields.
Dr.
Or
Collins, will
workout.
are there things in our current policy that we'll have to adjust or change to?
Not really, because, as we went through this, a lot of this we already do. They basically just want it in writing by building. I think, again, something happens in one of the other districts that is unfortunate, and they make you do something in writing so that they make sure everybody does it, and they make another rule, and, the state put this law out, I believe, February, and the Department of Elementary Secondary Ed was going to put a model plan out, and they waited till like a week before school
August.
started and said, by the way, this is due September 1st. So we scrambled to basically take the stuff we already do, put it in here.
Yeah, just
It
fit
wasn't
into their
it wasn't
mold.
anything new.
Yeah.
So in that
We
sense,
had that in every building.
it was just trying to put it in the right boxes so we could print it out and send it up to the state. But the piece that we really want to try is the actual, calling a code blue drill and seeing how long does it really take. Teachers now here lockdown, and they are very good at closing the doors. If we pull a fire alarm, they're very good with going outside with their class list. That's been part of what we do, and they kind of don't even think about it anymore. This would be something different that I wonder how they would react.
Would that be done with the students?
Yeah, I think the
Oh,
first
yeah.
one is announced, an announced drills, and especially at MAC and West would be able to have the teachers kind of let the kids know. I mean, it's really not even going to affect the students that much, if we determine to have it happen in the hallway or in the cafeteria, so we're not really disrupting class, but everyone would kind of hear that announcement, and just those people who were on the team, would be responding. And most of the buildings, it's mostly the office and administrative staff responding. I have a couple of teachers on mine because we have a smaller staff, to just be able to have that other set of hands at the scene if needed for extra
Who
help.
covers the classes when those teachers are responding out
Yeah,
to
see,
the
that-
field?
those are the kind of things we'll
things
ferret
that-
out when we do the
when we
drill.
were looking, I'm like, we're going to have to figure out, who's got a door that they can open. Like, on our team, we took one person from preschool and one person from kindergarten, so.
Also, if the teacher's absent.
Right, yeah,
know, it's-
right. Kind of
We
back
found
up.
that in every drill that we ran, that we do need to work more with our substitutes. Like they may not have a key, for example, to lock the door in a lockdown drill, or they may not know where. The kids sometimes know more than the adults do. They'll tell the sub what to do. Hey, we did this last year. Here's what you do. This would be different. And again, it's one of the reasons why we run a drill, to find out who knows, who doesn't know. And it raises the awareness of the teachers. In the back of my tag, it has the different levels of codes. And yeah, I should look at what's on the back of the door, because we keep some of the procedures on the back of every door, or by the door to go out to the hallway.
Well, very good job. I think it's well done. Thank
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good
Thank
job.
you.
On to the town meeting update, Dr. Colley.
We were able to go and speak with the Board of Selectmen, I believe 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago. And requested that they consider placing at least a $70,000 request on the town meeting. If you see, this is the latest draft that I have. Obviously, town meeting's not for another couple of weeks. So I'm hoping nothing changes between now and then. I don't think they can, because they've hit those deadlines where they have to review them and go through them. But if you look on page 2 under Article 2, they inserted our request right into Article 2. They didn't put it in as a separate article. So it's already there. You also have in there the veterans benefits and the short-term interest on the PCD loan for the middle school. They did pull out the money that they were going to request for the snow and ice budget. And I heard a little bit of a rumbling as to how many staff we had last year versus this year. So I went through and put together an analysis. It hasn't been sent to the town yet because I wanted you all to look at it. We basically finished it yesterday, gave it to my staff to verify today. There were a couple of small numbers that changed, so I've made it, I gave it to you guys to look at. I was hoping to send it to the town by Friday, so if anybody down there has questions as to our staffing over the last 3 years. I know somebody already questioned, we went FY12 to FY13, that was the first question. And then I said, I don't think people remember that in between when I first came here in 09 to 10 till now, we had another override fail, and we did make some cuts. And since then, we've shifted staff around. We don't have as many administrators. Some of that money was shifted to teachers. We don't have as many teachers. That was shifted to specialists. We do have more paras and TAs and a few specialists, because those were the places where we put some money so that we could bring students back from special education, and those savings went back into the system, so we didn't have to cut even further. So I just wanted to make sure people understood that, and I put an explanation of those shifts in staff over the last few years, so that people, because sometimes we look at 1 year to the next and we don't remember 3 years ago when something else happened that affected us, and it's still affecting us now.
Anything, Eric?
Once Article 2 is presented on town floor, they can't piecemeal it at all, right? It's either yes or no for the whole article, or are they able to remove things from it?
Or you can put a hold on an individual item.
Okay.
So
They
we would
could
need to
do
be
amendments
prepared
on
for
the
Yeah.
floor.
That's why I was bringing
It'll
it
be
up.
done just like, I think the first one will be the same way. You go through each one and
Hold it.
hold.
Or no hold.
Or no hold, and
Yeah.
then everything that has no hold would be,
Voted on.
right.
And I have not really heard whether they want us to present, although we always have the option to present. But this one, because it's combined with everybody,
Right.
I'm not sure how they want to do it. I don't know. I have not heard if the FinCom or the selectmen. My understanding is that by virtue of putting it in here, have agreed to support it. There was a 3-2 vote. But I don't think the FinCom has taken action yet they did.
Last night, they approved the recommending
Recommending the article.
version 7 of the town meeting warrant.
Michael, what was the vote?
I believe it was unanimous. No, I shouldn't say that. I don't recall the
Okay,
vote.
just curious.
Okay. So hopefully we'll go into town meeting with all 3 boards recommending that article. But if there's any discussion, that's why I wanted to give you some information as to the staffing, in case that comes up. I also, I know Dr. Dargan shared with you a couple of weeks ago a long list of needs that we've been kind of holding in the back burner in terms of material supplies and training, as well as a even longer list of capital needs. So if anybody questions why we're asking for 70,000, we're just asking for 70,000 out of many hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of needs.
Anything else? Okay. On to the WMS quarterly PCB results.
Okay, we may get through many of these. As you know, we still have PCBs at the middle school. We are continuing to monitor the air quality of the building. We did sampling at the end of September. I have a template that I'm going to be sending out for bids for December, March, and June for bids. But the first round, Fuss and O'Neill was able to do it a little bit cheaper than I expected. And there were a couple of rooms that were not analyzed because when they tried to remove the sample cartridge, the cartridge broke. They didn't charge us for it. But that means those couple of samples will have to be added to the rest of the list of rooms to be tested over the course of the year. The good news is most rooms that were low stayed low. The offices are still spiking up. The guidance office came in at 6:30.
Which one is that?
From the nurse's office, it's the second door. It's the one they used.
Have they identified a source? Because in 3 months' time, it's jumped triple.
It's the part that we don't understand because
Have they checked to see if there's a shared ventilation system with another room?
there is no ventilation in that room. There is a return vent to exhaust air out, but there is no air into that room. What they did in that area of the building, several areas of the building, you may have the input air in that room over there. They undercut the door, and then they have a return vent on a room over here with the expectation the air is going to come in over there, travel the length of this hallway or whatever, go under the door and up into an exhaust fan, which, you know, by negative pressure would be pulling air from the hallway. Hopefully it doesn't have the same concentrations. One of the things I did ask him to do is to test the caulk along the indoor windows, because that was something we never tested before, because in the other rooms, obviously the numbers came down.
Well, I thought we had to because the kids, if I recall sitting at the meeting, we were more concerned with the inside caulking because kids could sit there while they're in class and rub them and lick them, do whatever. The outside, I thought, was the lower priority for us.
Internal windows.
The internal windows.
That should be more of a concern because that's in the school and kids can have actual touch, feel it,
Right.
smell it.
They call it sizing. You can't even get to it because there's a metal frame around it, but inside the metal frame, there's usually a bead of something in there.
So it's not, you can't
It's not
actually see it.
accessible, but we are wondering if it's sending out chemicals, diffusing them into the air, and in a small enclosed room with little ventilation, it could be that. The other thing that we replaced the floors, we've painted the rooms, the floor is now linoleum. We've encapsulated the bricks, we've encapsulated the outside windows. We're going to test three things. Pull one of the windows completely out to get to that stuff that you can't get to otherwise. We're going to test the ceiling tiles themselves, even though we haven't found that they have anything anywhere else. We're wondering if they picked up particulate over the years.
Can they do a wipe from that? You know, we do the surface wipes on tables and stuff. Can they do a wipe of the window itself?
I can ask them.
Yeah, the
The
caulking,
glass.
as close as possible, like the brick or whatever's around it.
Mhm.
Just see if we're getting seepage from the sizing into the brick out to the.
We can do that, but the other one that we did not test is, you know how when you put a linoleum floor and even carpet, there's usually like a cove, a strip of plastic
On the
around the
bottom.
edges of the door, the wall. So as you mop or you use the vacuum, you don't scratch the wall. That's glued with something.
Yeah, but that's a big jump. So to see a jump like that,
That's an active.
you
Could be a bad test, too.
well, and that was my next question. Are
could
they
be.
going to test this room again in the next round?
We
Hopefully,
can
number
we
one.
can include that in the bid for the next round. We can ask for an extra wipe, you know, in a couple of these offices.
What is the it's
I'm
been a
baffled.
while since we've gone over the thresholds. What is the threshold? Is it $450 for adults?
Yeah.
Have we spoken to the staff and moved the staff elsewhere? Because I know we all feel very strongly, we don't want anybody in any areas that
Alec
these
knew
numbers.
this the day after they came back.
Okay.
And I know he was talking to the person that uses that office about.
Now, for
other
these
places.
offices that, and I admit, I have no idea about this stuff, but all I can come to is a situation like a radon type of a situation where you're trying to get air out. I'm just wondering, is there some kind of a ventilation system like you do for a radon situation that will pull some of these rooms that we're having these kinds of troubles with?
One of the things that Alec and I discussed was there may be ventilators that could be installed in the wall through the glass. The problem is you start messing with the glass has PCBs, now you're...
No, I understand that, but ultimately, we need to make a decision very soon on what's going to happen with that building. So part of what's going to be our decision is, if we continue to use it as a school, how are we going to rectify these numbers that, I mean, 210 to 630 from June to September, I realize the heat will cause, and that's not,
Sun.
but that's also, what side of the building is that?
It's the west.
It's not even a high sun side.
No. And if you look at the other ones, some of them bounce up or down a little bit, but not significantly.
No, not like that.
So if certain types of rooms in that building that have little ventilation, that tend to be the ones that we've seen all along having issues along that perimeter and usually upstairs. The one saving grace last year for us was we had a very mild winter, and we did have a lot of exhaust fans. You know, we opened up the exhaust part of the HVAC system. So we spent more money in heat, but not significantly because it wasn't a cold year.
Right.
We don't know what we're going to get this year, and if we start adding more exhaust out of these offices and whatnot, then you're going to have to crank the heat in those areas.
I understand
so
that.
Just concerns.
No, my other, go ahead. I have one more question on these particular numbers. And I realize it's not a high number, but I'm looking at it more because of where it is. Looking at the kitchen number, and it still is low,
Where are you?
but I'm just wondering, the kitchen borders the, that back area that hasn't really been cleaned like the rest of the school has. Have we gone back over that area,
We
made
have.
sure that the plastic is tight, put up new plastic?
Mike goes every month, checks it. He ended up, he didn't like the way it was left the last time. He put in furring strips
Okay.
to actually hold the plastic, and then he taped over that and he checks it. So if he sees a little bit of tape hanging off, take it off, put a new one up.
Just because
So-
it abuts the kitchen area. So.
And I had gone and visually inspected it as well with Mike as well. And I know Alec keeps an eye on it as well because he's concerned. But like I said, we're all sitting there in their offices and going, I don't see what else.
Right.
No,
Eric?
I had mentioned a lot last year, past year and a half about this. Do we, as of yet, have a diagram of the ventilation system of the middle school?
I know we do.
We do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 'Cause-
An engineer, mechanical engineering footprint, yeah.
Okay.
Sure we do.
Well, as of last year, we hadn't, so I was just wondering if that had generated since last year a schematic. And I know I've asked about cross-contamination from other rooms. We've had rooms that are closed off. How are they getting raised?
Yeah.
And I still haven't seen a schematic of the ventilation system on who's sharing what rooms. I know we talked about the principal's office last year. Where are they getting their air from? That was all up in the air last year. So we have a new thing that's been generated since last year.
I don't think it's been generated. We just went and looked it up. So we do have it. There is one of the schematics is the HVAC. Now, you know, that's from 40 years ago. If they've made any changes since
Well, that's
then.
why we need to know what our ventilation system looks like, who's getting what air from where, and where it's being vented. Because if we're getting cross-contaminations, that's one of our problems.
Now,
A cleaner room,
it could be.
draws air from another room, we're right back where we were.
Well, at this point, the part that we do know is the rooms that have been popping up, all they have is exhaust fans or exhaust vents. So they're the only place they can be getting air is either from within the room itself or under the door from somewhere else, and most every place else around them is clean or large percentages. So in that sense, it's not like it's going from a high area to a low area. It's coming from a low area to a high area, but I don't think it's getting exhausted. Or there's more in that room that we just haven't identified that's keeping the levels up.
Have we tested Alex's office now, where he is now?
That one cleared in the
'Cause
past.
that's got the interior windows too. So, and that was
that was the one thing. We're just gonna test a set of windows, and if we find it, our assumption is gonna be it's in every interior window. But the number of interior windows varies depending on what room you are. I mean, like just about every room we have like a side light next to the door, like this door over here, whereas you may have another office or space that has, you know, a whole bank of windows. Or if you go over to the computer lab and the library over there, you have whole walls of windows.
and
Alex has a
and
whole
those have
wall
been
of
fine.
window.
Those have been fine.
Well, that's my point. So it's kind of like a conundrum to say.
We know
is
there's
it-
PCBs in the cafeteria, where you can see it, where they've cut the,
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
Pac-Man.
where it says, is this the same or different, not analyzed and not collected? Are all
The
three of
nurse's
those-
office, one of the issues was Alec asked them not to test the nurse's office. He requested the guidance office. Because
Okay.
the person there was
So the
concerned.
two that are not-
we switched one for the other. The two that were
Those
not
are the
analyzed
broken-
was the ones that broke.
Are those going to be done
Yep, on
next
the next
time?
round.
And I don't see that we did the assistant principals. That was another room that gave
That
us
will be in another
a
cycle.
hard time, so that'll be done next time.
Yeah.
Because I'm just curious to see if those have come back up as well.
I mean, we can follow the same cycle we did last year. That's why I wanted to bring it up tonight. We can follow the same cycle we did last year, or we can just go back and say, let's test the areas that had given us any kind of problem last year, make sure that those, and do that in December, and then test the other rooms later on in the year.
we
Or
can't really
just-
do that though, because, I mean, we have to stay on a regular cycle, because we have rooms that have been cleared that are now back up again, so you can't just,
Right.
That's
Keep
why
testing the same
that's why I
rooms.
didn't. I just went by what we did last year. Alec did request that one switch, which I didn't think.
But
would
when
be-
we see a room that spikes up, we are gonna go back and,
We can. The problem is, you test it once, you test it the second time, comes up, you haven't done any changes to the room. The expectation is third, fourth, fifth time, it's still going to be an issue.
what's the accuracy on these labs?
The accuracy on these labs, if you remember, they made a calculation. It could be up 5, down 10, but up or down 5. Not on the labs themselves. The labs are pretty. I didn't look at the error rate, but they're very, very small. The bigger rate of error, or not error, or change, was when they calculated which kinds of PCBs there were. If you remember,
Mhm.
they did a small study.
All right. Anything
Thank you.
else on this?
no.
All right, it's 6 o'clock, so, is everybody here?
Mm.
I didn't think so.
Not yet. We can-
Miss Edwards just stepped out to the ladies' room, I think. Nope, she's right here.
That's a good thing.
No, we're still missing one.
I wonder if she remembers how to get here.
Yeah.
If you want, we can go through the couple of the action agenda items.
Well, we just discussed the PCBs, so why don't we, is everybody okay to go on to the
Let's
next
get it out of the way, sure.
and do the PCB study, the action agenda?
So I only got to about 7:45 tonight, so.
These were 3 firms that have done similar types, short, small studies concentrated on a building. As you can see, Hallowell decided they weren't going to give us a quote. They said if you do the bigger study, call us. Habib and Associates that said the same thing, but after much prompting, they gave me a quote. CGKV, they're the people who started the green project, so they have perhaps a head start, which may be why they gave us a lower bid. I did not ask NESDEC because I called them and they said they're more into the program. I did talk to them. They just said they don't do this kind of work. They do more of a program pupil analysis. So I wanted you to have that quote.
And we did find out that the
bigger study.
the
can't
bigger
be
study
done out of
cannot be
the-
used. The money cannot be paid for out of the bond.
But this could.
All right. Is there any discussion on this or motion on this one?
A little discussion.
Eric?
The vendor number 3 is a company that we've already had here doing work. I know that they seem to be the lowest bidder here, but I think vendor 2, spending a little bit more, we at least have checks and balances. You want to have someone checking their own work and identifying problems that may have happened that shouldn't have happened. I don't know how exactly the study's going to go about, but I feel more comfortable with a total third party coming in and doing the work, rather than someone who's going to be going over the same work again. Like Dr. Colley said, they've already had most of the work done, and they're just going to copy and paste. I'd like to have a study actually done.
Well, what work was it that they did? What was their scope of work?
The scope of work for them, for CGKV, ended when we decided not to pursue the windows. Their scope of the work was mostly the windows. What it would cost to do the windows. Because they were the ones trying to design what would it take to replace the windows. When they did the preliminary exploration of what the windows were made of, how they were built into the building, to figure out how to remove them and put new ones in.
They were
That's when they
subcontracted?
did.
I thought they were subcontracted by Triumvirate.
No, these were way back when we were doing roofs and windows.
Okay, I might have the wrong company then.
It would make sense, before we get too much discussion going, to put a motion, so I'd like to make a motion
Michael, go ahead.
to authorize Dr. Colley to select vendor 3, CGKV, for the Westport Middle School PCB study as outlined. And as part of the motion, I want to add to supply all previous reports and information regarding PCBs to the contractor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Michael, do you want to open discussion?
Yeah, I think it's a valid point that Dr. Colley's pointed out, that CGKV was part of the Pink and Company team that put together the study that I've been referencing. The original July or June 2011 study that started to identify PCBs, and in fact they did have some estimates for scoring masonry, and so I'm sure that information will be helpful. So that's why I thought, as well as them being the low bidder, would make sense. An example of a type report is also the Fuson O'Neill called the final report. This particular version has the April 2012, but there are some steps for remediation that go on to,
They
It's a
were,
starting point.
all three bidders were given that one,
Great.
just so they would know more or less some of the things that Fuss and O'Neill had suggested that we would need to do, or things that would need to be investigated before we were in compliance with EPA regulations. So they all had it, but yeah, that would be one of the pieces of evidence that they would have to look at, along with perhaps the new testing that was done, because obviously that's going to be a new monkey wrench thrown in, because we still don't know, as you know, Eric
Tony?
pointed out.
Dr.
what's
Colby,
happening.
you know, whoever and whatever it is, the final study they give us, that has to be EPA approved. How does, I mean, are we gonna pay for the study and find out that maybe half of the things they propose, the EPA?
Our plan has to be EPA approved. We have to put together a plan
I mean,
that they.
but we
will
want to
have
make
approve.
sure what they're gonna, you know, whatever the study comes back and says, you know, you can do this, that, and the other, that the EPA would even allow us to maybe take some of those actions. I mean, so, you know what I mean? I don't want to pay for a study that we send up to the EPA, hey, this is what we're going to do to the middle school, and they say, well, you know, no
Well,
one.
at the end of the day, you still are going to have to decide
We need
whether
to
you
know
want
how
to follow
much.
any of the plan or whatsoever. There will be parts that they all pointed out based on that bigger study from Fuss and O'Neill, or the bigger report from Fuss and O'Neill. There's some areas where you could do some wiggle room, and some areas where you don't. There are certain areas that were or materials that were tested that are considered source material that has to be removed, no matter what. That's by law.
And obviously they're aware that.
Yeah,
we need to go
that's
through
what I'm
the
saying. I sent
EPA.
them, I directed them to this report, so they wouldn't have any oops surprises, and you know, now the study's going to be much more because I didn't know.
Okay.
Now,
Um,
we would have to, it's still on the motion. I kind of agree with what you said. I like to have a third party, but would we be required to go with the lowest bidder here, regardless of what we wanted to do?
You should. Again, this is at this point a preliminary study to try to get a handle on what it may cost to
No,
get
I know
to-
that, but are we required here to go with the lowest bidder?
Is 25,000 the threshold?
I think it's between 5 and 25 that you should be going after quotes. After 25, you go out for bids. Below 5, you could go with, as they call it, best practice, which is, you know, I can just look online and find 3 people, and if they're less than the 5,000, you can go that way.
But I would imagine that one of the reasons their bid is lower is
They
because
have
they've
some of the
been here. They already
information.
have a lot of this.
Yeah,
A
well,
lot of this stuff would be
a
almost,
lot of
you know,
these
repeat
studies
work for them.
are time, you know, so for the engineers to spend time looking over the materials, you know, obviously they've already read it. They kind of have an idea of what they need to send to their estimators, what they need to send to their structural
they know what to
engineers.
expect.
I almost want someone to come in blind and just do it from scratch and come up with a...
That could work either way.
Carolina?
My understanding is this company was hired to replace the windows for the green project, right?
There were 2 contracts. One was for windows at the middle school. Windows, 3 contracts. Windows at the middle school, windows at roof here, roof at the MAC. So there were actually 3 separate contracts, but they were the ones who.
So they
came
went
in.
to the middle school, they did all the measurements, they did all the
Yep.
schematics, they did all of the preliminary work as to what you would need to do to replace the windows to make the building more green. So they've done all that work and they have all
Yes.
that information and it's in their
Yes.
computers and their systems already. They didn't really do any work with regard to the PCBs, other than testing and found the PCBs.
They knew that when the PCBs were found, that the price range for replacing the windows and dealing with the PCBs would put the project outside of the amount of money that we had secured at town meeting. That's when we made the decision to pursue both the high school and the MAC, and it was partly their recommendation to pursue the high school and the MAC roofs, because we also found out, when you first went to the town, you did it on a square footage basis. But if you take a look at this roof, and the more I've known about this roof, the less I ever want to know about roofs. There's like 25 different sections of roof. It's not a flat roof that just goes from one end of the building to the other. So that's when they started cost estimating. They said between the high school roof being more complex than anybody ever thought, the issues at the PCBs in the middle school, they said you need to decide which projects you can actually complete within the amount of money that you have. So at that point, they abandoned, we chose to abandon the middle school.
Okay.
So that's when they ended.
So the extent of their knowledge and work is they came in to do all the preliminaries, and they have that information in their systems.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They
So
have, like they have all the
I
the
understand
plans.
Eric's point of bringing a third party in, but to me, it doesn't appear that the work that they did had anything to do with cost estimating the PCBs or any of that stuff. That came with companies that you hired thereafter.
Yeah.
So I don't think the cross-check that you're suggesting really applies to this particular company.
And we did bring in, if you remember, another company that does, let's see, it's not, there was another company that does remediation work in PCBs, and they looked over the Fuss and O'Neill and said, we'll do the same thing, or we would do the same thing. But it would be nice to, if we move forward with the middle school, maybe bring those people back or get EH&E to take a look at what to do with these particular rooms that we've been having problems with, because obviously, we've not come up with a solution for them either.
And part of this study, Dr. Colley, we want them to, we want to remove all remaining PCBs.
You have to remove anything that's over a
All
certain
source
threshold, source materials. The other materials you can remediate, but if you remediate, you'll be in a constant, forever loop of monitoring.
Okay, Michael's motion is to,
Can you
Karen?
repeat it?
Authorize Dr. Colley to select vendor number 3 CGKU for the Westport Middle School PCBs stated as outlined and supply all previous reports regarding PCB contract.
okay, all those in favor of Mike's motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, let's just get, you guys mind going through the 3 field trips? Get those done, and then we'll,
2 field trips. One's canceled.
well,
Yeah, one was canceled.
Approval of field trip Westport Middle School Grade 8, Washington DC, May 30 through June 2nd, 2013.
So moved.
And second,
Second.
any discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 The
D&E.
C has been canceled, so we can skip that one. Approval of field trip WMS Grade 7 Trinity Repertory Theater, Providence, Rhode Island, December 11th, 2012. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approval of field trip Westport Middle School SPED Escobar Farms, Portsmouth, Rhode Island, October 31st, 2012.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's a fun
Aye.
place.
Sorry.
Is there a motion to adjourn into executive session for session pursuant to MGLC 30A, Section 21A1, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than professional competence of an individual, or to discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. Returning to open session following the executive.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye, Eric Larrabee.
Aye, Michael Sullivan.
Aye, Tony Viveras.
Aye, Michelle Duar.
Aye, Carolina Africano.
still gotta call this meeting back in order, right?
TV
Yeah, I
on?
think you have to hit the button. Or is it still playing? Thanks, Andy.
All right, let's call this meeting back into order.
Do you want to go next door and let those folks know that you're going back in?
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. Why don't we, yeah, Andy, please.
Is the TV on?
All right, well, we'll wait till Dr. Colley gets back here. Is this going on? There we go. All right, what do we got? We got,
We gotta get off this site.
we did the field trips.
It's the
Evaluation tools and
And then
process.
approval of minutes.
Well, why don't we,
Well, then we can,
I'll make a motion that we table the,
You can't.
hold on.
why? We're back in session, there's three of us, we have a
We're
quorum.
back in session.
We have a quorum.
We're
Yeah.
back in session, yeah, we're back in session.
Make a motion to table,
The minutes.
F of the action agenda, which is
The
new
new
evaluation
evaluation
tools and
tools and
process for the superintendent's evaluation.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
None.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Routine
Sped
matters?
supervisor again, can we table that, because that's
Yeah.
Dr.
Sped
Colley's
supervisor.
input on the need for an assistant, I would guess. Make that motion to table that matter to a next meeting.
Let's, second,
I'll second it. There's only three.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Routine matters, do we wanna
We can,
table, we can table?
no, we actually
Wait a
can,
minute,
We can do the minutes.
we can do all three of them
All right,
as a
let's do the
bundle.
minute.
one of those, I think one of those.
Well, they're coming back in, so.
Oh, I'll check them right now. Hold on, I can check them all.
I'm thinking one of those.
Michael is still here.
Mike's-
I know.
Absent was Dr. Colley on that first one. I got it right here, Karen. I can look it up. Need to put my glasses back on, but I can look it up. Okay, the second one, first one's good. The 10th is good. And the last one I was here, so I was here at all three of them.
Okay, so you are, okay, I was thinking,
Make a motion to accept
wait a minute.
minutes A, B, and C.
Carolina, will you hear these three?
I was on October 3rd.
Yeah. No, I.
Yeah, Dr. Colley was the only one absent from one of them.
All right, so a motion to,
No, wait a minute. October 15th, Eric, you were not here.
And, yeah, Michael left at 8 o'clock on the 10th.
So you can't.
Oh,
Eric, you weren't here,
at
Michelle
town
wasn't
hall.
here.
Okay,
I was at town hall.
you were at that meeting?
No, you came after we adjourned. You came into the,
No,
Oh.
we had the meeting in the other room, we had adjourned. when you
Okay.
showed up.
You'd
came
already
after
adjourned by the
we
time-
adjourned. We actually
okay.
had a meeting.
Okay.
Just
But
prior.
Mike and Caroline and I were there, so we're here, so.
I'll abstain. I can't second it. I can't make the motion either.
Okay, so wait a minute.
Let's do them one at a time.
Do one at a
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
Do A.
October
So,
3rd.
A motion to approve the minutes of October 3rd.
So moved.
Second.
All in discussion? Everything looks good? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve the minutes from October 10th.
So moved.
Second.
Open them up first.
I'll second that. Discussion?
That's the student reps.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then October 15th was a meeting we had prior to the selectmen's meeting. And a motion to accept those minutes.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
All in, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Okay, and then correspondence, don't see any, or we'll just have to take those up
Any
at our next
comments?
meeting. No comments? Anyone? Don't all rush up to the mic. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned.
Thank you, gentlemen, and ladies.
Is the TV
Karen,
on?
sorry for keeping you late.
Is that off, Eric?
I don't see a red light on, so I didn't turn on for any part of that.
The mic is on though, right?
Yeah, the mic's are on.